So, hey guys, welcome back to the Beyond the Sticks podcast here. We're excited to bring episode number 2 with you. Today we have a special guest. We're talking about some summer prep work. We got a special guest, Joey Jordan from HBWhitetails here. He's going to be helping us talk on this topic. He is very good at summer prep work, very good at property management. So he's going to bring a lot of insight into this conversation today. So everybody please say hello to Joey.
Podcast.
Huh?
I said that's probably the best intro I've ever gotten on a podcast.
Man, it cut out for a second. The internet cut out and you was frozen there for a second. So I was all confused.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, we're excited to have you on here today. And we've been talking about this for a year now, bringing you on here.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this since before we even had a podcast about one together.
Yeah. We've been talking about this for probably about 2 years now. Me and him actually became good buddies from our hunting channels, and we started doing lives together, and they turned out really good, and that's what kind of got us getting to the point of doing a podcast. And that's kind of how it all started. But today we're going to dive into some summer prep work questions and stuff that we've had in the past and that we want to dive into, and hopefully that you guys have the same questions that we can answer right here. So the first question that we have is, what can you do during the summer to prepare for the fall? No, this is a pretty broad question.
So, yeah, no, it is pretty broad. I through a lot of clients and a lot of people that have reached out to me through social media and everything else, I've gotten this question kind of a lot. And it's kind of, as most things in deer hunting, it kind of depends. The best answer that I'm able to come up with is kind of think of past failures. So think about the past year, 2 years, 3 years, however many years that you can remember, and think about every encounter you've had with a deer that you would want to shoot, and think about all the times that something went wrong. So like, say for example, like you have a buck that's however far away you want it to be, and it just never comes close enough. It never comes within range, and say it just will walk 5 feet, look up at you, walk 5 feet, look up at you. 9 times out of 10, that means that you are visible to that deer. So whether it means that you got to change trees, say you're in a climber, and you can easily either go further up in the tree into more, heavier brush up in the tree, or say it means you switch trees, or say you're in a blind or a ladder stand, something that's not as movable, I guess is the word. Figuring out ways to camouflage that better, whether that's cutting down limbs and tying them onto the stand or the blind, whatever. So that's kind of the best answer that I've been able to come up with, is just think of past failures and figure out ways to correct, or at least make those failures not as bad. And that's kind of one of the main focuses, at least for me, when it comes to summertime prep for the fall, is just thinking of the failures and how to fix them.
100%. I mean, we've had a lot of mistakes in the past on properties that we've hunted, and making those small adjustments of whether it's moving a tree stand from one tree to one tree behind it, that can make an entire difference of an entire hunt. I mean, we've had that happen in multiple scenarios, especially on public land. And that isn't just a summer prep work thing either. It's a during the season thing as well. I mean, you're going to run into these deer during the season, and they're going to come in, they're going to bust you. And next thing you know, you're like, how do you get around this? So whether or not, if they're actually busting you or just picking up a scent, change the tree. If that isn't working, think of the way that deer is coming in and see if you're crossing that at any point, getting into your stand, as in, making a better path to your stand that you're not going to cross that deer's path. So, I mean, that's all things to keep in mind whenever you're doing summer prep work, in my opinion. That's just kind of like the things that I've had happen to me in the past.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's not really just a summer prep thing. I mean, like, there's little things that you can tweak here and there, like you can do
Absolutely.
any time of year. It's, it's a lot easier to do it in the summer before the season.
100%.
You can get
100%.
as much noise as you want and it doesn't matter. So, I mean, like that, you kind of just like, for everybody listening, kind of you can keep that in mind, like, little tweaks here and there, like you can do during the season. In season, you just have to be more careful with it, whereas summer, don't have to be as careful. And that's kind of, the advantage to the summertime is, you know, I'm not going to say that it doesn't matter how much noise and all that stuff you're making, because it doesn't really matter, but a little bit it does, if that makes sense. Um,
See,
you
in
know,
my like
you
in
don't want to get there, just riding four wheelers through your hunting woods,
yeah.
but same time, you got to do what you got to do to fix everything to make it right for the fall.
And seeing like our like a lot that we do during season is all minor changes. That's what we try to emphasize that to people when we go in the woods and we're making changes. We try to do our best to make minor changes compared to major changes, because major changes, then the deer are going to have to get used to it,
Yep.
compared to minor changes where the deer might walk in there like 1 or 2 days and be like, oh man, something's kind of off. So you need to stay out of there for a week. But major changes is where you got to separate it from in season work to out of season work. Like
Yeah.
you can't just go in and like it's never worked for me. You can't just go in and put up a box blind right in the middle of season.
Right.
Like you can't go in there and set up box blind and cement during the middle of the season, but you might be able to get away with moving this stand from this particular spot 30 yards over to this particular spot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Kind of like I said, kind of the small little changes you can do. Anything major, that's kind of where I guess with my answer, it's more of the major things, whether it's putting new stands up in a location, clearing trails,
yeah,
just whatever it is, like the more major thing, that's where you want to focus on more in the summer.
100%. That's kind of what we try to do. Me and you talk about it during season, especially. Me and you talk about every change we make during the season, and we throw so many ideas back and forth that it's like, what can we decide on that won't affect the deer activity compared to what's going to affect it? And that's where you got to find that fine line, because everybody's property is going to be a little bit different on that, but you
Right.
just have to find that line.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, if I keep looking down at my phone or looking down, it's looking at my phone. We have questions on here that we have. So if I'm looking down, it's just because I'm looking at my phone on it. But so I think we kind of answered that question pretty well.
Yep.
So let's move on to the next question, and it's our favorite food plot mixes.
All
This
right.
is
So,
a tough one.
yeah, I mean, I guess between us two, I'm the bigger food plot guy.
100%. 100%.
Um, so see, that's a and it's tough for multiple reasons. So the first reason why it's tough. So I mean, it's to me seems kind of like general knowledge, but to a lot of people, it's not. So I like to do my food plots based off of what everybody else around me is not doing. So this area in Delaware, we have a lot of ag. So around me, I'm surrounded by soybeans, corn, wheat, a lot of alfalfa fields for hay. So any of those I am not including in my food plot mixes. And the reason why, which like I said, to me this seems fairly common knowledge, but to a lot of people it's not. Especially with a lot of the clients' properties that I go to. Um, if you so say your neighbor has a soybean field and say you want to plant soybeans for your deer, there is absolutely zero difference between the soybeans in your field versus the soybeans in their field. The only difference that there might be is how many beans per pod each plant produces. And the deer, quite frankly, aren't going to care whether the soybeans in your field produce three beans per pod or two. Deer, they just see soybeans and they just want to eat. So that's where I kind of like to do my food plots, is do different stuff. If it's say we're in a field type setting to where you can get away with the more light dependent plants, stuff like sugar beets, turnips, radishes, stuff like that on the, I guess, not normal ag plants. That's what I'm going to tend to lean to. If I have that option of having an open field. But if we're talking more of a wooded type setting, low light setting, that's where you kind of want to implement your clover and your chicory, stuff like that, more of the low light plants. And obviously there's different subspecies of each one of those. So like clover, you can do red clover, white clover, crimson clover. Like there's so many different clovers, and all of them have their advantages, disadvantages.
Yeah.
So that is kind of what I would lean more towards in a wooded or, I guess, low light setting. Now with that, I will say that it's not on this list because I keep looking at our question. Yeah. With that, personally, I think summertime plots are the biggest waste of time, money, and energy that you can do. And the reason why I say that is that your summer plots, so a lot of the time, especially if you're running trail cameras, you'd be able to see this. Most of the deer that you are seeing on your property in the summertime, you will not be seeing until the very last week of the season, if at all, during the season. So, and that's because, this is kind of one of our other questions, is the whole deer pattern thing, which we'll get into later. Deer, their patterns change through different times of the year, right? So the deer that you're seeing in the summertime are not the same deer that you're seeing during the season. So essentially, if you're planting food plots in the spring, so that way you're feeding deer over the summer, you're essentially feeding and growing deer for your neighbor or your neighbor's neighbor, wherever those deer end up traveling. You're feeding somebody else's deer. So to me, that just kind of seems counterproductive and a waste of time. Why are you going to spend all this time and money to make all these plots to feed somebody else's deer, and then basically turn around once fall rolls around and have to kill it all, till it, disc it, drag it, whatever, and then plant stuff for the deer that are going to move in on your property, and have something for them to eat. So to me, that's kind of, like I said, it's not really part of the question. It's just, kind of off the side of that.
And it kind of hits home with me because a lot of the properties that I hunt are under 10 acres. So you get into that, and now you're looking at deer that is completely gone. I mean, we might have maybe one or two deer that remain in that particular area, but it's not fairly common for deer to stay in the same area because, like you said, their patterns change and they kind of go back to their fall and winter home. And now you just built somebody's deer. You just put all of the right mix into building a big rack. You just put all that down. You put all your effort into it. And now, like, granted, at the same time, it does help the herd, which that's every deer hunter's goal. But at the same time, you just fed your neighbor's deer that you're going to see him post on Facebook 2 weeks later. And you're like, well, yeah, you ran mineral sites, but I had that deer over here the entire year. But yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons that we don't really run summer plots either. Me and you've actually talked about this for a long time now about how we feel about these summer plots, and neither one of them ever mix right.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, the only time that it's ever really beneficial is if you either have a lot of land. Like if you got like, I don't know, 5,000 acres, like obviously you can get away with less than that. Like honestly, if you have, I'd say probably about 500 acres up, then you can get away with summer plots, because most of those deer, if not all of those deer, are going to stay on your property. But if you're under 500 acres, the only way that it'd really be worth it to do summer plots is if you and your neighbors are really tight and you all basically hunt on each other's properties. That would be the only way that it'd be worth it, because then at that point you still are growing the deer that you're going to be hunting. But obviously, most of the time it's not that good. Most of the time people won't let you just hunt on their property, especially if they're a hunter themselves.
Yeah.
So it's to me, it's just a waste of time. But I guess with the question, like I said, the favorite food plot mixes would just be anything that, at least for me, is whatever your neighbors are not doing would be my favorite. So there's not really a specific plant or blend or whatever that I would do, like prefer to do. It's just whatever I have to do to be different.
Yeah, and see, like here, like I was really limited this year because the one of the properties that I hunt that I was going to put the food plot in, they told me I wasn't allowed to, till it up or anything like that. So it kind of was I had to find a no-till mixture that was going to work. And hopefully it does. We still don't know, but hopefully in the next month or so, we'll start to see something different coming up. But, and that's also another thing is we have 30 cornfields around us and just as many bean fields, because right here in southwestern Ohio, I mean, that's about all there is cornfields and bean fields. So you can't plant any of that and be different.
Yeah, and that, like I said, that's kind of the key is to be, because if you're planting beans and your neighbor, his neighbor, and his neighbor are also in beans, like there's zero difference to a deer between your beans and their beans. They just see beans and want to eat it, So that's why, like I said, I do anything that is different, just to give it some sort of draw or attraction to the deer. Because that's really the only thing as far as food plots that can really help you, is just have something that your neighbors don't.
Yeah, because at the same time, you have beans and they got beans, or you got corn, they got corn. It's not going to play a difference.
Yep, exactly.
So we've already went over we kind of touched on this, but I don't think we really dived too deep into it. When is it too late to make summer changes? So you're right before season, you're in crunch time. Like here, season comes in third week into September. So you're looking at late August. Is that too late to make a major change to a property? That gives you a month of season or a month of off season still for them to get used to it. Do you think that plays a dramatic change in mature whitetails not to come or change their pattern or, kind of kick them away?
I guess, me, and this is my answer to everything. It depends.
I don't think you said a yes or a no this entire thing so far.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like everything, there really is no, like, especially running, there is no definite, like, this is what you have to do. Like everything that there is it depends. And even when I do give an answer, it's just speaking from the perspective of what I've had work for me. That doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for you, for somebody else.
In deer hunting, there is no 100% guarantees.
Exactly. I would say, like I said, it depends. It depends on, I guess, for me, how major the change is. Would I be going in with a skid loader and a chainsaw crew, clearing trees and clearing paths, a month before the season? Definitely not. But would I go in and, set up a new box blind, or set up a couple new stands, maybe do a little bit of hinge cutting? Probably. But with that being said, I'm not going to say that it deters bucks, or just deer in general, whatever you're looking for. I'm not going to say it deters them. I will say that it might affect it might make them a little more skittish. The more stuff that you do, the closer to the season. So I'm not really going to say there's ever a time that it's ever too late. It just might affect the overall success of your hunt a little bit. So I guess it kind of would come down to what you're trying to get out of it. So, if you're a hunter who's just trying to fill the freezer, you don't care whether it's a 250-inch buck or just, a little doe, you're just trying to get meat for the freezer, then at that point it wouldn't really matter. But if you're the kind of guy that's, like, because everybody wants to shoot a 200 plus inch buck. Everybody wants to do that, but there's a difference between the guys that just say they want to do that and the guys that are actually, doing everything they possibly can to make that happen. And if you're one of those guys that's doing everything you possibly can to make it happen, I wouldn't really do anything overly major within that close to the season. Me personally, I'm doing, me being a property manager, as well as, I'm not going to say being big within the hunting industry, but, traveling around the country, hunting different places, all that kind of stuff, hunting with a bunch of different people, meeting a bunch of people within the industry, talk to a lot of people in the industry. A lot of the major changes that I'm doing, like when I'm hinge cutting, whenever I'm just, say I'm clearing out trees, whatever it is, any major things where it involves loud and heavy equipment, I'm doing that in like February, right when the season ends.
Yeah.
Um,
That's when we try to do everything. Is most of our major changes, if we're done hunting on a property, say our guy's tagged out and he's the only one who has permission to hunt that property in mid-December, we're going in there as early as possible to do all those major changes. And then you have 6 to 9 months before next season comes in. So now these deer are way too, like, already way comfortable with the entire area now, even after you just made those major changes. So you might see a little bit of drop off, but it's going to pick back up during season.
right. Yeah. And like I said, that's kind of like, like I said, there's really not a time that it's ever too late. It's just the further you get, like the closer you get to the season, the more it might alter your success rate a bit. So like I said, to that, it would just kind of come down to what you want to get out of it. Like I said, anything with especially heavy equipment, whether it's bulldozers, excavators, skid loaders, anything like that, I'm doing that in February. Mainly for one, everything's dead. So or dormant, whatever you want to call it. So it's easier to get a lot of equipment into the woods. So that's part of the reason, as well as I just like to do it before mosquitoes come back. So
100%.
That's a big thing for me.
Yeah, me, fat guy and mosquitoes does not mix. Yeah, I mean that's kind of always our goal too, is get it done whenever you're looking at major changes. I know some ideas don't pop up until mid-May or June, but when you come up with those ideas, try to get it done as soon as possible. Yeah. And if you cannot get it done, some things just need to wait till next season.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. Like, a lot of, like, if it's, say you're running trail cameras and say you got deer coming in from a different angle than they were the year before, and say you need to, you've just realized that like a couple weeks before season, it's not going to hurt nothing if you go in there, move a stand around, and then give it a couple weeks before the season starts. But, if you're noticing like, hey, like these deer are coming, they're not coming this way anymore, they're going over there. But you don't have a good way to get over to there, and you would have to clear new paths. Well, you might want to, if you're only 3 weeks from the season, you don't really want to be coming through your woods with a bulldozer.
Yeah, so make the best path you can without making a big disturbance.
Even at that, I would still wait till the following year. Like if you have to go through the struggle of making new path, and if it's thick to the point where you would have to make a path to get there, I would wait until the next year. And like I said, like February, March timeframe. And at that point, I would make a bunch of paths everywhere you could possibly think of that you would have to get. Now, that doesn't mean just you basically open up your entire property. But like if you know a general area of where the deer are coming, going, whatever, make multiple entrances there so you can hunt different winds, get in from different directions, stuff like that. And you then do that the following year. So, like I said, anything more major like that, if you're just discovering it a month or so before the season, I would wait until the next year. If it's something small, like moving a stand, it really isn't going to bother anything.
Now this is a question that I get a lot whenever we, when we're talking with especially new hunters and stuff like that, is when you're doing this summer prep work, the scent control. So when you're getting closer to season, are you a person that worries about scent control from every time you walk into the woods, or is it just when season gets closer?
Um, so you're saying like, do I worry about scent control in the summertime?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
not
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
not the slightest. And the reason why that I say that is that you got to figure everything else that, like, all the extra scents that are around during the summertime. You figure, flowers, leaves, like all that, all the pollen that it are, on those plants. You figure there's so many more animals that are moving around because it's warm, and there's so many more animals that have different scents. There's so many different scents in the area, as well as, let's be honest, nobody is walking around in the woods in the summertime for the fun of it.
No.
Like, when you're in there, it's because you're doing something, whether it's moving stands, building a stand, putting up a feeder, clearing paths, whatever it is.
Sides.
Yeah, whatever it is, you're doing something anyways while you're there. So there, to me, there's really no sense in, if I'm sitting there cutting down a tree with a chainsaw, why does it matter what the scent is? I'm literally sitting here with it. So that's why, me personally, I don't worry about it. Like, honestly, I have a bunch of feeders in like the thicker areas of certain properties, to where I can't get a food plot in. So I just have a feeder. I'll drive the side by side right up to the feeder, stand in the back, and pour feed in it. So you figure you got the exhaust that's going all over the place. Not only that, but then you got, sweat and, just the human scent that is there, and whatever else, the feed scent. Like, you got so many scents, and it doesn't seem to bother them in the slightest bit. And that mainly, so the reason why, a lot of people worry about, a lot of people worry about scent, and a lot of people don't really realize this, is that deer get skittish because of scent, because of the pressure that is put on them during the season. So I've had numerous times where I've had cameras on mineral sites, food plots, bait piles, stuff like that. And I've had deer come up to the bait pile, mineral site, whatever, 10 minutes after I left. And that's because summertime, there's no hunting, so there's no pressure. So that's really is what is causing the deer to be skittish, is not the actual human scent. It is from the pressure that is put on them during the season. And when they have that pressure, they just equate any, I guess, not normal would be the best way to say it. Not normal scent. They basically equate that to danger. And that's why they're skittish during the season as opposed to in the summertime.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like, I think I've told you about this property, but I hunt in a subdivision for one of my properties. And the deer there, what's weird is, it's like if you walk up in normal clothes, the deer will not spook with you within 20 yards of them. But if you walk in there with camo, it's a whole different story. So it's like they know the difference between someone coming in to hunt compared to someone just walking through the woods. I mean, and neither one of the scents affect them because it's still the same scent, but it's, this time it's the sight of a deer compared to the scent of a deer, where other properties it'd be the, scent during the summer or scent during the fall,
Yep.
like you was just saying.
Yeah. Like you said, it's kind of like, based on kind of what you said. If you ever kind of walk through a park or the neighborhood, whatever, and you see deer, if you're just kind of, casually walking by, they're more than likely probably going to run away, but it's not going to be like a, scared, let's get out of here, they'll probably just jog off. But if you're walking through the woods during hunting season in camo, trying to get to your stand or whatever, and you spook deer, they are moving. And like I said, that's not because of the sight or the smell of a human. It's the pressure that they are experiencing at that time that makes that basically gives them that fear factor.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of where I was thinking about that, but I get so many questions every time I go in the woods about that, especially from new hunters that like I personally know. They'll always ask like, how do you feel about scent control in the summer compared to the fall? And I'm like, well, me personally, I don't scent control during the summer, but the fall is a completely different ball game. It's like walking into two different sets of the woods.
Yep. Yeah, it really is.
So guys, we had to take a little bit of a cut there, but we're on to the next question here. And the next question is, when does summer pattern and fall pattern switch for deer?
All right.
This
So
is a hard one. This is
yeah,
another one of it depends.
yeah. I mean that's the answer to everything. Is it depends.
Yes.
I feel like here personally, between my properties, all of my clients' properties across the Delmarva Peninsula, I feel like we start seeing a change in how often deer start showing up, because deer don't just like disappear. They'll go from showing up every day to 3 days a week to once a week, and then they're gone. And from what I see, we start seeing that shift once like the first week of archery rolls around. So here in Delaware, I think Maryland and Virginia are the same way, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But here in Delaware, our archery season starts September 1st. So basically we start kind of seeing that shift, I'd say like September, like 10th. Like I said, it kind of goes back to the scent, whether to worry about scent in the summertime and how they're sketched out by human scent during the season because of the pressure that is put on them. It kind of goes back to that. They start switching into their fall patterns once they start getting that pressure from hunters. As well as obviously, once it starts to get colder, that will affect it as well. But we really start seeing that shift here once the season kind of starts and gets underway.
And I was during the last podcast with Greg Lessinger. Me and him got talking. I had this really nice buck. We called him Twin Tires. If you guys follow my Instagram, you guys have probably seen him before. He is a great deer, and we get him all through the summer. I mean, every day throughout the summer, and it was perfect, picture perfect. And I was talking to Greg about this specific deer because I could never seem to track him down during the fall. And Greg was pretty much said the same thing of, he's one of your summer deer. He's not staying there. He's moving probably 3 to 4 properties over, and then he has his own little pattern over there. So what his suggestion was you got to kill him in the first 2 days. If you don't kill him in the first 2 days, you're not killing him. You'll have to redo the hunt next year. You got a 2-day crunch time to make it happen. If you don't make it happen, you hope he lives till next year, because and you know what? He was right, because first day for the week leading up, we did not see him a bit. So I kind of gave up hope on him. I was like, man, maybe he moved early. So I sat that morning in that stand and nothing. But that evening, I was like, man, I think he already switched. So I went to another stand, and next thing you know, I got a trail camera picture of him. And I was like, well, I should have just took his word. I mean, he has killed 3 deer over 200. So, maybe he might know something. But yeah, he actually gave me that advice. He's a super great dude. If you guys check him out on social media, he's really knowledgeable, and he will share knowledge with just about anybody. He's a great guy. But he's the one who really started to show me how deer actually change as soon as season starts, how you can have a 2-day window, you can have a 3-day window, but you better be in there to kill it.
Yeah.
And I never realized how serious you had to take that until that particular incident because I've never had deer on property of that size, of that caliber, that, I was specifically chasing that one deer that those 3 days. Like if another buck walked out, it was going to have to be a really good deer for me to shoot because of that deer right there.
Yep. Yeah. And like you said, it's, it comes down to how serious you take it. Like everybody wants to shoot a 200-inch deer, but like shooting a 200-inch buck is one of the hardest things that you can possibly do. And like,
100%.
you have to be like, a different breed. Like you have to be like, you're calling off work, a half hour before you're supposed to show up to go hunt a deer kind of serious.
And I was actually talking about the wrong deer. Anyways,
well,
the other deer I was talking about, the deer that I'm meaning was Tex. But continue, my bad. I was just sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, that's the wrong deer.
Either way, still the same principle though. Like, you really gotta take it serious. Cause like I said, I mean, here, like Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, the whole Delmarva Peninsula, none of those three states. I mean, according to Realtree, Delaware is the #1 most underrated state for deer hunting, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Realtree lied.
Nah, Realtree hasn't lied. But when you think of big buck states, you're thinking of Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, Nebraska, like Ohio. You're thinking of all.
So you better throw Ohio in there.
You're thinking of the states like that. You're not really thinking of the smaller, not as well-known deer hunting states, and that's where majority of hunters are hunting, is the not as well-known states. You really don't have that much time. Like I said, here we noticed that within the first week of the season, of archery season, which here archery isn't really that big. Like, I know like certain areas have their thing. Like obviously, like, Michigan, their rifle season is huge. Same with Wisconsin. Let's see, you got Pennsylvania. They have their flintlock season, which is a huge deal, apparently. I don't understand why, but it is. Like every state has like their thing. Like here it's shotgun season is the thing. So like archery here is not that big of a deal. Not very many people do it, but once deer start getting that slight bit of pressure, that's when they, I guess, kind of realize in their mind, like, hey, like it's that time of year again. And that's when they start changing their patterns, going to their fall patterns in their fall areas. And then they have their own little pattern over there. So yeah, you really don't have that much time. Like I said, if you are really that serious and have a specific buck that you only see during the summertime, like Greg told you, you got to kill it within the first 2 days. And, certain areas you can get away with the first week, but ideally you'd want to shoot it opening day or like, very soon after.
Yeah. Like that's exactly what he told me, was just get in there, find soybeans that are still green and hunt it.
Yep.
He's like, if you can find them soybeans are still green, you're killing it. Yep. I'm like, well, that's smart. But yeah. So obviously he knows a little bit because he's killed some great deer. So, I mean,
yeah, he's killed a lot bigger deer than we have.
That's the truth combined.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I've killed some nice deer. I mean, the 17 point behind. Don't get me wrong, that's a deer of most people's lifetime. But I mean, there's something different about the deer that he's killed.
Something different about a 200.
Yeah.
But well, let's get into the next site, talking about growing 200s. Let's talk about how to make that happen. And why do you use mineral sites? And like, what situations would you rather have a mineral site over a corn pile, or any type of bait pile? And I know some states you can't bait, and some states you can bait only during the summer. So let's kind of like dive into the broad spectrum of this, of a mineral site kind of versus a bait pile.
All right, so it's kind of a two-part question, because within that, which looking at our list, it's kind of a two-part question. So like you kind of have mineral sites, and then you have baiting, and then you have supplemental feeding.
Yes.
Baiting and supplemental feeding are kind of their own thing. So like I guess we'll dive into mineral sites first, like where we can, like where you'd put them, the advantage, disadvantage, all that kind of stuff, like what they're kind of used for. Kind of on like a broad spectrum, mineral sites basically is just to give the deer what they need to grow bigger antlers on a very broad spectrum. So the two main minerals that are actually what make up an antler are calcium and phosphorus. That's, at least I feel like that's pretty common knowledge. It could be not, who knows. And basically what you're doing is more or less giving them those minerals in a lot more concentrated quantity. And that's kind of where the advantage is. If you're, say they're just eating the natural browse, say, food plot, bait pile, supplemental feed, whatever, they're going to get calcium and phosphorus from that, but they're not going to get nearly the quantity as they will from just straight minerals. So that's kind of why you would use minerals. With that, not only are you a lot of mineral companies, obviously, I'm partnered with a mineral company, Forget Genetics LLC.
And we're working out something with a company in the works right now. And
I know
we can't really talk about it right now, but it's going to be something huge. And we have really high hopes for it because it's something pretty cool. And we can't wait to announce it.
I know about it. I'm not saying nothing until you announce it. But so basically, like, I'm partnered with a mineral company. You're about to be partnered with a mineral company. And obviously both of us are going to be biased. So I'm not going to speak on the specific companies just because like I said, I know we're both biased. And so I'm not like, I can sit here and tell you it works all day, every day. Yeah. It does. It really does, but I don't expect people to believe that since I am partnered with them. So basically when it comes to, like I said, with the growing of the antlers, mineral sites, a lot of mineral companies have a flavor or some sort of attraction element to it. So that's why I feel like a lot of people, after going to, trade shows, and just, talk to a lot of people within the industry, a lot of mineral companies are switching more towards not only a mineral, they're switching towards a mineral / attractant.
100%.
So that's kind of one thing with that, is you kind of got to find whatever flavor works best for you. Some areas they like apple, persimmon, acorn, normal corn, wild berry, I don't know, vanilla, lemon.
Hey, vanilla is nice. Lemon is even better. You're showing us some secrets right now.
Yeah. Start out some subtle hints that nobody listening knows about.
Yeah. Hey, you guys will find out in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
We got something in the works that, might be pretty cool, and something that you guys haven't seen in a while that could end up being hopefully very popular. That'd be really nice. So look out for the next couple of years for that.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out subtle hints. But no, so the first part is you got to find what flavor, scent, whatever you want to call it, works for you. Not really, I guess, for you, for the deer. And then from that, when it comes to picking your minerals, because let's be honest, like you and I were both partnered with with great mineral companies, both great companies, great products, great people. And obviously we get discounts / free stuff from that, not only for, product test purposes, promotional purposes, just basically helping them, whatever. Not everybody has it like that,
And here's the thing is about, me and you, that we can both say and be 100% truthful about. Neither one of us would promote a company that we do not 100% believe in. And I know everybody who has a partnership says that, but one of our main focuses, well, we have two really main focuses that we've talked about, pretty open with each other because we both have the same beliefs on it. For one, we want to make it where we're not going to promote a product we don't believe in, that we're not going to be able to tell you with a straight face and look you in the eyes that says that it works. For two, we're not going to partner with a company that is not affordable, because me and him's both working, blue collar type of guys, where you don't have the abundance of $300 to spend on minerals every 2 weeks. So whenever we look for partners, it's not just, hey, they make a great product and they're going to give it to us for 40% off. We don't care about that, because I want to, at the end of the day, be able to look at my viewers, look at, the community that we have built to get, built, as content creators and everything like that. We want to be able to look at you and say, this product works, and you be able to look at us and with full confidence that we truly believe that this product works.
Yeah, no, and like kind of to touch on that before we dive more into it is, like you said, I mean, I not only have with HBW, I have 26 clients all across the Delmarva Peninsula, and I'm not all of them, but a good majority of them have bought the the mineral company Frigate partnered with, as well as like the attractant companies, the clothing companies. They've bought products from all of my partners, and they truly love the products. And and it's the same thing. I'm not going to partner a company that I don't use myself. Habit Outdoors is the only clothing that I wear while I'm hunting. Frigate Genetics, the only minerals that I use on any of my properties. Whitetail Mash, the only attractant that I use. I only will use and promote products that I use and believe in, and same with my pro staff guys. All my pro staff guys, that's what they use, and that's what they use and they love. And that's just like I said, I don't really expect anybody to believe that, but we just want to throw that out there.
And we kind of just got off on a tangent on that one.
Yeah,
because it's such a touchy subject to talk about that, especially with
when you have any sort of deal, it's always a touchy subject 100%. With any company, whatever product or whatever it is.
Because there's so many people that, this is kind of like one of those unpopular opinions, but like there's so many people that's within not just the hunting industry, but anything that you get into, there's so many people just looking for that better deal. Whether it's the same product, lower quality, but 10% more, they're going to take that deal because it's 10% more.
Yep.
Where I would rather pay 20% more and have a higher quality product that I believe in, and that I can wholeheartedly say, this product, when you put this product on the ground, it is going to work.
Yep.
And that's just kind of how me and you run things. Like we've talked about it a long while. Me and you, we run pretty much everything by each other before, because that's a way of saying, hey man, like I don't know about this because this, it's kind of expensive, but most of the products all of the products that we get into, we make sure they're very affordable and we believe in them.
Yep.
Because
totally agree.
We're not going to partner with a product we ain't used.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's mind boggling.
Yeah. So like we're saying with that, we just totally got off on a tangent. But with that, like I said, not everybody has the type of deals that we have and can afford to get the, I guess, higher end minerals. Yeah. That we can. So like, especially if you're going with the store bought minerals, I'm not going to throw out any companies, but just, if you can go to Cabela's, Bass Pro, Tractor Supply, Walmart, just whatever minerals you could find there. I guess some like tips and tricks would be to find anything that has less than 30% of salt, which especially with store-bought stuff is really hard sometimes. Yeah. And the reason why you want to do that is because salt itself doesn't have any minerals or vitamins in it. Salt within minerals is used as a filler. So you want to find as low of a salt percentage as possible. As far as phosphorus and calcium, you want to find anywhere between 7 to 14% of that bag, bucket, whatever, is those two. Like you want to find like calcium is between 7 to 14, and then phosphorus between 7 to 14. If it's like 6.5, it's not that big of a deal. But if it's somewhere around that ballpark, is what you would ideally want.
The thing is if you have too much calcium and phosphorus, it actually has the reverse effect.
Yes.
So that's another thing to look into.
To an extent.
Yes.
So it kind of like, if you it's to an extent.
Yeah.
You basically want everything to be like a 1-to-1 ratio. You don't want it to be much higher or lower than that. You want basically all the ingredients to be 1-to-1. But generally like I said, 7 to 14 range for calcium phosphorus is kind of a safe range.
Yeah.
And that's, me talking from a property manager perspective, as well as working with Forget Genetics, and talking with Barry, great dude, by the way, talking with him a lot about this. So that's kind of like a little, I guess, tips and tricks as when you're going to a store to physically buy it. Now, where to actually put them. Mineral sites, like I said, a lot of companies are switching to the mineral / attractant market. And I like to put them in areas, which just seems kind of basic. Put it in an area where the most deer are. That's going to be like your pinch points that say you're in the woods, you find where 4 or 5 deer trails intersect, put it right in the center of that. If it's basically like a very open area, like a bunch of fields, if there's a woods edge, say there's a little pinch point or some sort of point, whatever, put it on that point. So, say you could put it in like the corner of a field up along the trees, somewhere's in there. Basically the heavily trafficked areas is where you kind of want to focus mainly on where to put them. Now, in terms of the best way to actually make one, there's so many different ways you can YouTube. But so many different.
Hey, I mean, you can go check out the video that I just posted,
or you could check out the video I posted. But either one, they're both.
I like my idea better. So
nah,
yeah.
definitely that ain't it, Chief. But no, either one of the videos are great videos. I've obviously watched mine because I made it, and then I've watched his too. Both good videos. Kind of me personally, what I like to do is if there's an old stump there, kind of what I like to do is pour it on the stump, kind of basic stuff. If there's no stump, I like to clear 6-foot radius circle, kind of, take a rake, loosen up the dirt, pour some on there, kind of rake it in a little bit, pour more on top. If you really want to get fancy, if you're putting it on a stump, you put it on the stump, but also do the circle around the stump. That just kind of adds in a bigger area. Obviously, you're going to use more minerals doing it that way, but it does make it a bigger area. I mean, that's at least for me, that's kind of, I guess, minerals 101.
I kind of thought when you was bringing the rake into the woods, you was getting fancy. I just used my boot.
The boot too. I mean, I personally, I can't really speak for every mineral company, but basically Forget Genetics, how they formulate their minerals, which I actually do really like it, is when you look at the minerals, you're going to see a bunch of different colors. You'll see some reds, some pinks, some grays, stuff like that. And what that is the different colors are obviously the minerals, like the actual minerals itself, the calcium and phosphorus. Then there's the flavoring, and then all the other stuff. So basically, how it's formulated is when you pour it down, right? The minerals are going to be the lightest stuff. Your attractant is going to be your heavier stuff, basically. So the attractant is going to lay on the bottom, the minerals are going to be on top. And so with that, obviously, your flavor, when it rains, snows, whatever, is going to melt into the ground a little bit. And the deer, that's really what they're going for, is the attractant, the scent, the taste of it. They're not really going for the minerals. So basically, by them formulating their minerals that way, when the deer start digging and chewing up the dirt, the bark, whatever, to get to that flavor, it's forcing them to have to consume the minerals before they can consume the flavor, because the minerals are on top. I can't speak for every mineral company. I'm just saying that's one of the cool things that Forget Genetics, how they formulate and design their minerals. It kind of puts it into a, attention to every single detail that there is. And that's one of the reasons why I ended up partnering with them, is that they're very focused on the fine details of it and how to get the minerals in the deer. Because let's be honest, I mean, you can use mineral sites all you want, but if the deer aren't actually using it, it's not doing you any good.
And see, that's so about the mystery company, that I'm working with. about the mystery company. But that's one thing that I really like about them is their mineral doesn't have a very strong smell, but it has a good scent to it. But what I like about it is it's a vitamin based mineral as well. So it has all like the calcium, the phosphorus, and everything like that as a normal mineral, but it also has vitamins added in that's really good for lactating does, for fawns. It's good. It's really good for the whole quality of the herd altogether.
Yep.
And that's one thing that we really like as a team that we try to promote every year is a healthy herd.
Yep.
Because to grow big deer, everybody thinks growing big deer is just feeding them mineral. No, you have to have the genetics there. You have to have healthy mothers to birth these, fawns that are going to grow up to be good bucks. But you have to have everything, every component has to work right to grow a good mature deer.
Right. And that's kind of like, like Forget Genetics, the same thing. Like they have all the minerals and everything infused in, or the vitamins, I mean. And that's kind of like, I guess that's more the difference between a good quality mineral versus a store-bought mineral. Generally your store-bought brands, like the big, like billion-dollar corporations, they're kind of, you're basically buying the name. You want to, if you really want to take it serious and do it right, like do your investigation into it, find a good quality mineral. It doesn't just have to be the mystery company or Forget Genetics, because I know the owner of said mystery company, as well as Barry, the owner of Forget Genetics. Both of them obviously would want you to use their products, but at the same time, both of them will also say that they'll talk to you about whatever you want to know about mineral sites, just to help you out, because they're those type of people. Like they're more concerned about helping you out and making you happy than they are to make a dollar. Where store-bought stuff, that's all they care about is making a dollar.
Yeah, half of them won't respond to you.
Yep, exactly.
But that's one thing that we like about both of the companies that we're talking with, that they are great people. They are even better companies.
Yep.
I mean, and that goes a long way with us, because if you're going to take the time to talk to me about the entire history of this product and how you created this product to what it is today, what is exactly in these products, then tell me exactly what these things are going to do. And you're going to sit on a phone call with me for 4 hours on telling me this, not once asking me if you're going to buy your product, you might have just sold something.
Yep.
I mean, that's one good thing about these smaller companies that that I really like.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like there are some smaller companies that I've run into, had people like had them reach out to me. I had some smaller companies that I guess kind of get in over their head, think that they're a bigger deal than they kind of are, and are overly concerned about making money as opposed to, helping people. And that's kind of where, like I said, you'll have a lot of smaller companies. I say smaller, but like both the mystery company and Forget Genetics, like that is their full-time job. That is what they do. So they're a smaller company, but big enough to sustain themselves. But even at that, like I said, they're more concerned about helping you and making sure you are happy with the product, more so than they are making money. So I'm not going to say it's every smaller companies like that, but a good majority of smaller companies, I feel like that, at least that I've talked to, are more concerned with customer satisfaction than they are making money.
100%. All right, so we just had to take another quick cut real fast, but well, I think that's actually wrapped up with all of our questions. And don't worry, because we're going to be doing some deeper dives. We're going to be getting into more podcasts. You're probably going to see Joey quite a bit on these podcasts, because me and him, we talk deer hunting every single day.
Every day.
Yep. Ladies hate us. Like, we talk deer hunting every single day. No, they put up with a lot of deer hunting. We got to give them credit. But
yes,
yeah.
You said, we'll be doing a lot of these. I do on the HBW page, which, by the way, you can follow me on Instagram at HBWhitetails.
It's going to be in the description down below as well.
Yes, sir. You can follow me on Instagram. We do a lot of, well, we used to, and we're going to start doing them more throughout the summer and into the season. A lot of live streams where we kind of just talk to everybody that joins, answer any questions, stuff like that. And yeah, so you'll see me on podcast. You'll see Hunter over there. So definitely check all that out.
We got 2 separate social medias, but it seems like we're both always on them.
Yeah. We always post, like repost and post each other on our pages. So yeah, I'm probably on your page a lot, and you're on mine a decent amount too.
Yeah, so pretty much his description is going to be down below. We're actually excited to announce a new series coming out. And
you telling them now, or
should I make them wait?
It's your call. It's your page, not mine.
You guys will see in the next week.
It's a good series, long series, but good.
Absolutely.
And it'll definitely help a lot of you guys that are planning a hunt.
Yes. Out of state, in state.
In various locations.
Yeah. And we are excited to bring it to you. Joey is going to be helping me because I'm going to be trying to bring guest stars on each. Most episodes, not every episode is going to have somebody, but we're going to be trying to bring guest people on the episodes. So Joey, I'm sure, will be on there unless I can find somebody else who hunts in Delaware that's better.
I'll be the very first episode, I promise.
But yeah, so we really appreciate you sticking around, and hopefully you guys had fun with this. We definitely had a lot of fun. This is it was no different than us just having a conversation that we usually have. But,
yep. These are our normal conversations. And a lot of the conversations, they kind of come from the people that reach out to us a lot, at least like I know you do. I have a lot with having clients and obviously having I'm not going to say decent following, but I'll call it a decent following on social media for only having social media for 2 years. Yeah. I've got so many people that reach out to me on a daily basis, and that's kind of where these questions were coming from. So, it was kind of a figuring if other people have had these questions, then, maybe
it could help somebody else.
Yep.
And we really appreciate those DMs and stuff. We love answering questions. I know sometimes people's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't send this because I'll sound dumb. No, we don't worry about that whatsoever, because 90% of the questions that we ask each other are dumb. So, yeah. So that's just kind of how we do things. I mean, we just make it where it's fun. We don't judge nobody, and we'll help anybody and everybody we possibly can. But on that note, I think it's about time to wrap this thing up. So
yes, sir.
We really appreciate you coming on. And Joey, thank you for coming on this episode and being our second guest on the Beyond the Six podcast.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, obviously it's, kind of hard to, be behind Greg Lessinger.
Yeah, and, it's big shoes to fill.
I'll definitely be back for everybody that's listening, watching, whatever. So, yeah, make sure you follow me at HBWhitetails, and then, yeah, I'll be on here again.
Hopefully next podcast we can find somebody better. So,
all right.
No, I'm just kidding. Just messing with you. Thank you.
Yep, no problem, buddy.
All right. You have a good day.
You too.